Hello, everybody. It's good to see you, many of you, again. Close. Okay. So just like last night, it is just really awesome to be in community. And often when I visit places, I just want to take in all of it, like the sounds, the singing. Many communities are similar and many communities are so different. And it's really cool to travel and see what other people are doing. And thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to talking with as many of you as I possibly can this weekend or today. All right. So I want to begin with a question. What does it mean to be seen? Not noticed, not observed, but seen correctly, fully as you actually are. I ask that question because as a Black Jewish woman who has spent her life navigating spaces where people see part of me and miss the rest. Oh, I heard an amen or something. In Jewish spaces, my Blackness makes my Jewishness a question, and in white spaces, my Blackness is the only answer. And in both cases, what they are really doing is deciding which story I fit into before I even open my mouth. That experience of being seen through a story rather than as a person is not just my experience, it's actually this experience of every Jew of color I know. That experience is a window into how both anti-Semitism and racism actually function, and that is what I want to explore this morning. In Parshat Shemini, after the strange fire, after Aaron's silence, the portion turns to something that might seem mundane, the laws of the priest. What they may eat, what they may touch, what is pure and what is not. But these laws are not mundane. The entire second half of this Torah portion is about categories, about who fits where, about whose presence is considered natural and whose presence is considered a problem, about who gets to move through the world without being questioned and who is always one step away from being told they don't belong. I want to sit with that. Because anti-Semitism and racism are both, at their core, systems of categorization. Systems that decide who belongs and who does not, systems that build on how people are seen. But they do not work in the same way. And we need to understand the difference. Racism, particularly anti-Black racism in America, is a system built on visibility. It assigns inferiority based on who can be seen, skin color, physical features, and then it builds structures, laws, institutions, habits to enforce that hierarchy. Racism says, I can see what you are, and what you are is less. It is enforced through visibility. You cannot hide from it. You cannot assimilate your way out of it. The target is always visible. Anti-Semitism works differently. Anti-Semitism is not primarily about visible difference, it is a conspiracy theory. It does not say you are visibly inferior, it says you are secretly powerful. It says problems of the world, economic instability, cultural change, demographic shift, moral decline can be traced back to a hidden Jewish hand. This is why anti-Semitism is so durable. It is not a feeling, it is a story about how the world works. And in that story, Jews are always the explanation for what is wrong. Racism marks people through visibility and punishes them for it. Anti-Semitism marks people through invisibility, through the threat of what cannot be seen, and it punishes them for that. These are two different logics, two different mechanisms, two different experiences of moving through the world. And we do our people, all of our people, a disservice when we flatten them into the same thing. But here is what they share. Both systems require the same thing at their foundation. They require a hierarchy of human beings. They require a decision about who belongs and who does not. And they require a story about who is the problem. The ideology that says some races are inferior and the ideology that says Jews secretly control the world are not the same story, but they come from the same need. That need is to rank, that need is to exclude, and the need to have an other whose diminishment justifies your own power. That is the shared root. And it is why the same movements that produce anti-Semitism produce racism. It is why the Klan targeted Black Americans and Jews. It is why the marchers in Charlottesville chanted about replacement while also marching against Black civil rights. It is why Pittsburgh, Buffalo, West Bloomfield are part of the same story. Different tactics, different roots, same strange fire. And then there are the experiences of living at the intersection of both. Jews of color do not experience these systems one at a time. We experience them simultaneously, and that simultaneity, I practiced that word. Simultaneity teaches something essential. When I walk into a Jewish space and someone asks me, are you really Jewish? Did you convert? Where are you really from? That is anti-Semitism operating through racism. It is a refusal to recognize Jewish identity when it does not match the narrow, racialized image of what a Jew is supposed to look like. It happens in our spaces, in our synagogues, and in our Jewish organizations. And at the same time, I do not stop being a Black person when I walk through a door with a mezuzah on it. The assumptions that follow Black people in America do not pause because the building is Jewish. So I navigate both, not on alternate days, but simultaneously. And here's what the experience reveals. Anti-Semitism often pressures Jews to disappear, to assimilate, to hide what we are so we can pass through undetected. I'm going to say that again. Anti-Semitism often pressures Jews to disappear, to assimilate, to hide what we are so we can pass through undetected. Racism makes it impossible to hide. Racism makes it impossible to hide. The target is visible. The hierarchy is enforced through what can be seen. For Jews of color, there is no stepping out of one system to escape the other. There is no safe ground between them. And that is not a personal burden, it is a theological revelation. Because if you want to understand how these systems actually function, not in theory, but in human body, in a daily life, you have to listen to the people who carry both. So what does that mean for us? It means we cannot fight anti-Semitism without ignoring racism. Not because they are the same, because they're not, but because they share the same root. And you cannot pull a weed by trimming the leaves. It means we cannot claim to be a people of justice, a people of Torah, while allowing racism to operate inside our own walls. The question that gets asked of Jews of color, are you really Jewish? And other questions like that are strange fire. And it does not belong in sacred space. It seeps in through the same channels that all strange fire uses, through assumptions we have not examined, through categories we have inherited without questioning, and through silence. And so this Shabbat morning, I want to ask us to sit with the question that I started with. What does it mean to be seen? What would it take to build a community where people are seen fully, correctly, without condition? Where Jewish identity is not questioned based on what someone looks like. Where we understand, really understand that our liberation is bound together. Where we fight anti-Semitism and racism not as separate causes competing for attention, but as two expressions of the same disease that requires the same medicine. Justice, honesty, and the refusal to rank human beings. The knowledge, commanded, not optional, that every person is created in the image of the divine. Every person. Not the ones who look like what we expect, everyone. So may we have the courage to see clearly. May we have the courage to see each other clearly. May we have the honesty to name what distorts our vision. And may we build something worthy of everyone who needs it and everyone who needs us. Shabbat Shalom.